Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who that? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? My name is Timothy J. Jones, and I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And good afternoon to you. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. Thought it would be nice to do a quick episode here of the State of the Saints podcast where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Shouts out to everybody that's listening or watching this right now, whether you're at work, at home, on the go, whatever. All right. On this edition, we're going to be talking about and taking some questions and comments about the New Orleans Saints and the cap so far. As of right now, the New Orleans Saints are under the cap. It was a long journey in order for the Saints to get to this point. A lot of restructure that had to take place, but nonetheless, the New Orleans Saints were able to become cap compliant. $16 million as of right now over the cap, and the New Orleans Saints might be trying to look for some pieces they can add to their football team to make the team much better. As of right now, I'm just kind of doing some modifications in real time. So if you see me, looking down, that's what I'm doing. Just want to make sure that we get these things done and done. All right, so $16 million over the cap, man, are the New Orleans Saints. But we got some unfortunate news. Will Harris signed a multi-year deal with the Washington Commanders. Congratulations to him. Will Harris definitely got himself some bread the way that he played with the New Orleans Saints last season. I think we all can remember that vicious hit that jarred the ball away from all-pro wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, and that kind of set the tone for his Saints career. And not to mention, he dealt with some injuries, but he came back into the lineup, and it was pretty obvious that he was out there. And now we look at the New Orleans Saints. We look at them needing a new outside corner, more than likely, if they don't want to move Alontae Taylor back to the outside. And now they're going to need a safety. And you're looking at Jordan Howden. He's going into his third season. Tyrann Mathieu, more than likely, he'll be back. But the Saints are very, very thin in the secondary. So I expect for the New Orleans Saints to probably go into free agency and see if they can actually nab one of those positions or even both. We know that as of right now, Asante Samuel Jr., it will probably be a top priority free agent for a lot of teams. The former Los Angeles Charger was drafted by them a couple of years ago. He could fit that mold. He can be that guy that the New Orleans Saints need in order for them to generate some levels of success. But we know that the New Orleans Saints are turning from a 4-3 to more of a 3-4 defense, which means that you're going to need new bodies and also guys that are going to be able to run sideline to sidelines and linebackers that have that athleticism to be able to stand up and also put their hands on the ground. But they will have some help. I made a quick video, a 2-minute video, right after we finished up on the last episode of the State of the Saints podcast on Monday night. Around that time, that's when I found out that Chase Young got extended by the New Orleans Saints. He signed a 3-year, $57 million deal. We know that Chase Young came to the New Orleans Saints on a little bit of a prove-it deal, a 1-year, $13 million deal. A lot of teams, they acquired his services until they found out that he had a little bit of a neck issue that would require surgery. The New Orleans Saints, they did not shy away from him. They embraced him, and I think it paid dividends. He played in all 17 games, which was the question mark about Chase Young. Could he be able to play the entire season? And he did. And I just think that it was interest from both sides. Chase Young, I feel like he probably looked at the New Orleans Saints as a place that he likes, and also a team that gave him an opportunity when others kind of closed their doors when they figured out he had a little bit of a neck issue. And also the New Orleans Saints, they liked the way that he played down the stretch. Me personally, as an onlooker, I like the way that he played down the stretch. I thought that he was disruptive. He didn't always get home when it comes to sacking a quarterback, but he was able to set the edge, and that caused the quarterback to shift sides and maybe roll to the left, and that would open up opportunity for a Brian Brzee or a Carl Granderson. So I know sometimes when we look at guys and we look at their stat line as a defensive end or a linebacker and we don't see double-digit sacks, we feel like this person doesn't have anything to offer. But those quarterback hurries and those pressures, they go a long way, especially when you're watching tape and when you figure out how that quarterback got on the ground by that defender. It may have been because of that defender's brute strength and bull rushing offensive lineman back into the pocket, or it could have been a defensive end that sealed off the edge that caused the quarterback to run in the opposite direction to get sacked. So all of those things matter. And Chase Young production indeed matters. So he got that 3-year deal. The Saints have restructured some guys. I'm going to look on my phone because I want to make sure that I get these individuals correct. As of right now, the Saints have restructured the deals of Demario Davis, Carl Granderson, Cesar Ruiz, Colin Saunders, Eric McCoy, Derek Carr. So those are a few guys to name. I want to say Pete Warner did as well, but I mean they restructured a lot of guys' contracts. And look, this is what the Saints have done over the last couple of years, and you know they've always found ways to get back into the black. But you know, my question is, how many times are you going to be able to do this before you really cause yourself some damage? You know, it was cool and all that when, you know, Drew Brees was on the roster and you were trying to win one before Drew hung it up. I can understand that. But now you're looking at a team that's trying to figure it out. You got a quarterback, in my opinion, don't really necessarily want to be with the team. We find out that it wasn't because he wanted to restructure his deal with the New Orleans Saints. It was the fact that the Saints had something in his contract that said that they could restructure. It seems to me that Derek Carr, you know, probably wanted to test free agency in another world and in another situation. The Saints probably would have let him. But the fact that the New Orleans Saints have put themselves in this type of position time after time after time again, now you're basically forcing a guy that doesn't necessarily want to be with the team like that. You're forcing him to stick around. So I'm wondering if the New Orleans Saints understand that and they're going to adjust accordingly. This is one of the reasons why I've been telling people and asking people to understand that maybe you want to look for a quarterback of the future. And that is the reason why on the last episode, I talked a little bit about if one of the quarterbacks fall to number 9, you draft him, because you have a quarterback in Derek Carr that, like I said, in other situations, he probably wouldn't be on the roster if the Saints could be able to manage the cap without him being involved. But they couldn't. Because he was involved, the Saints freed up $31 million. And, you know, along with some other guys, now they're $16 million over the cap. And they can actually make some noise. Like they can actually do something in free agency. Having that amount of money, you can bring in some quality guys. So hopefully, you know, this is what the Saints are doing. But I just hope that the Saints kind of wrap this whole kicking the can down the road thing up. I just don't think that it's a recipe for success. We see teams all around the league. They let go of some of these key players, these guys that mean so much to the organization, that have been bold soldiers for the organization for I don't know how long. And they don't want to let these guys go, but they have to. They got to let them go because it's for the betterment of the team, the betterment of the cap. And a lot of these times, these teams are willing to let go some of these key players is because they have a quarterback that can be able to weather the storm. I'm going to say that again. Most of the time, these teams can let go of these key players because they have a quarterback that can weather the storm, a quarterback that can go out there, that can win games for you, that can give you a deep run into the playoffs. Derek Carr is not going to do that. And I just think that the New Orleans Saints, if anything, if we're not talking about rebuilding, we talk about trying to win and trying to be competitive. Understand that you are not just being competitive for 2025. You have to be competitive for 2025 and 26 and 27, so on and so forth. And kicking this can down the road, eventually, you're going to run into an issue, especially when you combine this with you're not drafting really good players that can develop in your system. You're letting these players go because you got so many voided years on contracts and deals that you can't pay these quality guys. So I really feel that Derek Carr, Mickey Loomis, and crew need to understand this, right? I mean, not so much Derek Carr, but the front office of the New Orleans Saints. They need to understand this. And it'll be one thing. Once again, if the Saints start this season and they go into the NFL draft and they find some quality rookies that can come in and make an immediate impact, and they continue this practice next year and the year after, then I don't feel like what you're actually doing with the salary cap would hurt, especially if you find the quarterback of the future. But you don't have the quarterback of the future. You got uncertainty when it comes to guys due to their age, due to the lack of production that we've seen so far. So I don't think that you can continue to do this. And the fact that the Saints just continue to make these type of decisions, I just think that it's going to end up hurting them in the long run. And it's going to subject fans all over that are members of the Who Dat Nation to be miserable. So all I'm saying is maybe put a cap on this whole cap situation that you got going. Because if you think that this situation is not going to hurt you in the long run, then you, sir, need to know that that is cap. Now, let's go ahead and read some of these comments. Like I said, it's not going to be a long show, folks. Not going to be a long show at all. I do want to get through as many comments and questions as possible. If I don't read your comments at the starting point, feel free to copy and paste and put your comment down at the bottom. Louisiana Dog says, I'm getting tired of watching Demario Davis get burned out there on the field. Look, man, I think Demario Davis has dealt with some injuries. I think that played a role. Look, it's hard for me to say anything bad about Demario Davis. And honestly, that's the issue. Because if you look at Jonathan Allen with the Washington Commanders, who end up leaving, now he just signed with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm pretty sure a lot of Commanders fans don't have anything bad to say about him. Or Tony, who end up leaving the Kansas City Chiefs, going to the Chicago Bears, an all-pro type guy. Ryan Kelly, the star offensive lineman, leaving the Indianapolis Colts. I'm pretty sure their fan base doesn't have anything bad to say about Ryan Kelly, a guy who has been in the league and doing it at a high level for a very long time. You're not going to say anything like that. That's the issue, folks. You have these emotional investment in players, right? You care about them. They become an integral part of your life, the community, etc. And you don't want to say anything bad about them, even though if you look at them, they may not be the same player that they once was. But Demario Davis, to me, I think you can find much worse at linebacker than him. I don't think that's an issue. That's not an issue. The issue is the Saints need to be looking for the succession plan to Demario Davis. Not the fact that Demario Davis can't play anymore, but that's just the way that it goes, folks. That's just the way that it goes in the world of sports. No matter how great you are, no matter how beneficial you are to the team that you play for, eventually you're going to get up there in age and they're going to look for your successor, I should say. That's just the way that it goes. And I just think that if you're not doing that, you're doing a disservice to the organization. Like, you can't care about people's feelings when it comes to them watching a young guy come in there and learn. If this is a veteran, like I know Demario Davis is, he's going to wrap his arms around that young guy and understand that his football immortality is not forever. And he's going to understand that, and he's going to try to work with that guy. We've seen him work with Willie Gay. We've seen him work with Pete Werner. We've seen him work with Zach Bond. We've seen him work with Craig Robinson. We've seen all these different guys that he's worked with over the years. I don't think he has a selfish bone in his body. I think he has a competitive bone in his body, which is one of the reasons why I feel like that's why you want to keep a guy like Demario on the team, because Demario aspires to be great. I can't say that, unfortunately, about some of the things that I've seen from the Saints players. Not all of them, but y'all know they're a collection of players that have that happy to be here type approach. And sometimes, man, it's great to be there. Like, think about all of the years that you played football on a high school level, the collegiate level. Hell, you probably go even further, talking about the Pop Warner level. And you finally get opportunity to put on a uniform of an NFL team. Only 32 teams in the league, and only a couple, guys get opportunity to know what that feels like. But while you're there, you want to let everybody know that you are him and you're there to make a difference. And I don't know if too many guys have that type of energy, that mind frame, that desire, that passion, like Demario Davis does. I think a lot of what Demario went through in 2024 had to do with injury. A lot of times he probably, in other cases, probably wouldn't have been out there. But he went out there because he felt like the team needed him. So I think that, him being healed up, he'll be much better. But I don't think that should just be the end of it. The Saints should be looking for that next linebacker that can beat the next Demario Davis in his organization. TJ, if cornerback Benjamin Morrison is out there, are you taking him if Will Johnson isn't available? I'm looking at the best cornerback that's available. Cartel, whoever that may be. Looking at the guys that are coming out, I wouldn't be objective if they was to get Malachi Starks at this point. Like, Malachi Starks to me would make a little bit more sense. Will Johnson, that would make more sense. I don't know if he will be there around the time the Saints pick, but you need to maybe look in that direction. I understand that this might be disappointing to some Saints fans, upset, because you want to see a skill guy like a wide receiver, tight end being taken off the board, somebody that Derek Carr or whoever the quarterback is can throw to. Like you want to see those things, but at the same time, is it necessary? Is it beneficial to what you actually need? This is a team right now that is going to change up their defense, and it just seems to me the way that the Saints are structuring deals is like they feel like the guys that they have on their roster right now would be able to make that transition. There's nothing that I have seen from the New Orleans Saints so far that makes me feel as if they believe that they were just that bad last season. They're moving. I said this on Twitter. I said this yesterday on the last episode. The Saints are moving like a team that felt like injuries played a role in the way that they looked last season. It wasn't the players, it was the injuries. And that's the reason why you're seeing these restructured deals. That's the reason why you only really seen one new guy come in, and that's Devon Godshaw. That's the only person. Other than that, and I'm pretty sure they'll bring some more guys in, now that they got the cap under control. They're in the black. But all I'm saying is they're restructuring guys and bringing back guys on that defensive side of the football because they feel like they have the right nucleus of players to be able to make that transition. Will they be able to? Only time will tell. But I guarantee you they're going to need some more pieces on this team that understand that 3-4 defense a little bit more than some of the guys that have been traditionally running that 4-3 with Dennis Allen for a very, very long time. Varnell says, I was looking forward to just letting everybody that basically was on a team last year walk, especially Chase Young. This man had all those pressures, but only 5.5 sacks. Varnell, that's what I'm saying. Like, when we look at a defensive end's production, we start looking at the sacks. We don't really pay attention to quarterback hurries or pressures, but those things matter, man. Those, like, pressures could possibly set up a turnover. Pressures can set up another person, like, getting a sack. That's why you have to watch the tape, man. Like we go to the end of the game and we look at the stat line. And we look at the stat line and we like, oh, man, this dude didn't do nothing. But who's to say, like, he was the main reason why the other person on the other side ate most of the game? Like, I understand, like, you want that to equate to sacks. You look at guys like Trey Hendrickson. You look at guys like Khalil Mack. You look at guys like TJ Watt that consistently get double-digit sacks. And you're like, man, if I'm paying somebody, I want them to be able to put the quarterback on the ground. But all of that stuff, like, really matters. Like, when you really take time to watch the tape, I want to talk to like some of my coaches out there, people that coach the defensive side of football or coach a football team in general. When you're watching tape, there's a lot of things that you may think is going wrong or a person is doing in real time. And then you go back and be like, man, I was really critical of that guy, but I watched the tape and I realized, man, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. Sometimes, like when we watch these things, it don't, what I'm saying? It kind of puts things into perspective. It maybe even change our perspective in some cases. If you get hurries and pressures, that helps a football team. Now, 5.5 sacks, that's not something that you necessarily want your defensive end, especially a person of Chase Young's talent and caliber to have. You feel like he should have double-digit sacks, but I just look at what he did on the field. I look at like some of the plays going back and watching some of those games and seeing like how he was able to set the edge, and the quarterback had the reverse field, and he might run right into the hands of Brian Brzee, or run right into the hands of Tano Pasio, or run right into the hands of Carl Granderson. Like, that stuff matters, man. We just don't pay attention to it because, like I said, at the end of the day, we look at the stats. And if it don't resemble double digits, then that's a failure of a season. But I just think that there's more ways that you can get things done. And Chase Young found a way. And I just think that, eventually him being acclimated to a system, a 3-4 system where I feel like he can be able to hunt and, put pressure on a quarterback, I think that you'll probably see more improvement. And then on top of that, I think that the confidence level of him being paid and getting compensated for a team that actually believes in him, I think that they'll pay dividends. I mean, this guy's been around for a while, being drafted by the then Washington football team, then going to the 49ers, and now back with the Saints. Nobody really gave Chase Young any type of commitment. But the New Orleans Saints felt like he was worth the investment. So who knows? Maybe that'll pay dividends, and maybe he'll be able to be, that player that the Saints need him to be, knowing that he has financial security. That's important, man. This was a guy who went into a season 1 year, $13 million, and had to prove that he was durable. And he played all 17 games. So, that had to be in the back of his mind to make sure that he tries to stay as healthy as possible, all the while being as disruptive as he possibly can. And I think he did. I think he did it for the most part. That's why I'm not drafting a wide receiver this year. That's just another body for Carr to catch. Well, look, I still think they need a wide receiver. If they don't get one in the first round, I'm okay with that because there's a lot of talented guys you can get in the second or even the third round. So, I think the Saints will still be able to get somebody that can make an impact if they play their cards right. TJ, with all the stuff going on with the Saints, I'm still a Saints fan every day. No switching teams for me. Well, that's a good thing. I'm not advocating for anybody to switch teams, but it is frustrating, as a Saints fan, to watch some of these things transpire and for them to see how these situations are turning out and they just go right back to being business as usual. I just think that, that old saying, definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I just think at the time when it was kicking a can down the road, pushing the payments back further and further, when you had Drew Brees, it was understandable because you knew that you were going to be a playoff team. You know that more than likely you were going to win the division, and you were going to make at least a deep playoff run. But now you don't have that type of security. Like, the Saints don't have that. Like, look around this football team. We have been saying this for quite some time. Who is the guy that you can hang your hat on, the young 20-something that you're like, I look at this player and I know that this organization going to be all right? I don't see him. As talented as I look at when I see Talase Fuaga, when I look at guys like, Kool-Aid McKinstry with the promise he has, like, there's not too many guys on this team that they drafted over the last 2 to 3 years that you look at and be like, you know what? I think this team going to be safe in his hands. And you definitely don't have that at the quarterback position. That's when you can be able to kind of finesse the cap and be able to manipulate it a little bit when you have a quarterback that can be able to weather the storm, be able to overcome certain adversities, like how you seen with Drew. Bad defense all those years, but the offense was going to be on point. Drew was going to keep you in the game. That Drew was going to most likely deliver the Saints to a playoff. but you don't have that. So I don't think that you need to keep on working the books like you do have that. I just think you're setting yourself up for failure. And if you aren't hitting it out the park with the draft picks, it's just going to make things worse. If the Saints don't go into this draft and get some quality guys, then it's going to be even worse. Like how the Saints are operating, you need the perfect scenario. You need the perfect scenario. Like you need everything to go right. Like we seen like the first 2 games of last season when the Saints had all hands on deck. They looked great. But then when guys start to get hurt, you realize that they didn't have depth, right? Because they didn't draft well. They didn't develop these players well. So you seen the bottom start to fall out. So you can kind of prop it up, make it look the part. Yeah, I ever seen like them cartoons, and I used to watch Tom and Jerry when I was growing up as a kid. And I remember this one episode where Tom wanted to look like tough, you know what I'm saying, and physically imposing to impress this other cat, right? So he ended up ordering this bodysuit that you had to inflate and blow up, right? And and he put the suit on, and he blows it up, and he's looking cock diesel when he walks out there on the beach, and the lady really started liking him and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, the other cat realized that it was an inflatable suit, and he just took one of his paws and just let all the air out of it. Like you look like the man, you look cock diesel at first. Now we just burst the bubble, and now all of a sudden you just skinny old Tom the cat now. That's what happened with the New Orleans Saints. Last year, they looked apart because they had all hands on deck. As soon as that paw hit that balloon, all the air went out. So you got to make sure that you dot your I's and you cross your T's. And, so it starts with the draft. It starts with you developing players. And I think that what Kellen Moore is doing, he's doing a very good job at bringing in teachers. Teachers are extremely important. Good coaches that are good teachers can help you navigate through uncharted waters, right? I mean, when you have a guy that's a good coach, but you got some guys that may need a little bit more of some coaching up, and that's not really their wheelhouse. They mostly deal with guys that are more like finished products. They can kind of fine tune them a little bit, but I think the biggest issue with the New Orleans Saints is finding guys, giving them that confidence, and giving them the tools that they need in order for them to thrive in the same system. So if Kellen Moore is doing what we think that he's doing, I think that they steering in the right direction. Strolling down a little bit, folks. I'm going to take a few more and then I'm going to get up out of here. Says, Kool-Aid is a product with Nick Saban. I'm standing with my Tide. But you can say that for a lot of players. But it's up to the New Orleans Saints to find a coach that can be able to get through to him. I think that Terry Joseph, he has that reputation of doing that. Like everywhere he has gone, he has left his stamp on every organization, every program that he's been a part of. So hopefully things stay the same when he comes over to the Saints. Hell no on Tyler Warren. Get Loveland or him. Like Tyler Warren would be a good fit, but either one of those guys would be good as well. Brandon, I would take Shadur F. Carr's feelings. Well, like I said, it wasn't Carr's idea, Tramal, and Who Dat Nation. It wasn't his idea to restructure his deal. It was in the Saints contract. And would he have restructured his deal if the Saints came to him if it wasn't in the contract? I don't know. I mean, that's up to God and Derek Carr if that to know the truth. Y'all keep it 100. If Shadur falls to 9, or the Saints drafted him or not? I don't think they would because of his personality. I don't think they'll do it. The Saints aren't the flashy type organization where they want like a circus to be around, and that would actually garner probably more attention on the organization. More people probably want to come over to cover Shadur Sanders, and they ain't gonna want that, man. Like the Saints like the fact that they can kind of keep everything controlled. Basically the same people that cover the team, they're the ones that give us the news. You really don't see too many outside entities really doing it. And you know that when Shedeur Sanders comes along, and you know national media, because everybody's going to want to see, you know, Deion Sanders' son, what is he going to do with his new football team? So I don't know, man. I just don't. I think now, should they draft him? In my opinion, absolutely. But knowing how the Saints like to keep everything like bottled up in house, you know, control the narrative to a certain extent, you know, tell you what you need to be told, shy away from things that they don't feel like necessarily need to be privy to the public, you know. But if you draft somebody like Shedeur Sanders, that the circus coming with him, and by circus I mean the national media. Team is still going backwards. Mickey just rewinding the script. I got a question for you. Since the Saints traded for Gashaw and restructured Sanders, extended Shepard, we have second year players, defensive tackle boys. Yeah, I mean, look, it just seemed like to me like they feel like they got the depth, they got the guys that they feel like they can actually win something with. I don't know, man. I still think that they need somebody that is, you know, more familiar with this type of defense. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make a really strong push for a guy like Joey Bosa or something like that. Somebody that's been familiar with, you know, Brandon Staley's defense, or, you know, somebody that he's probably like even Asante Samuel Jr. I think that he probably would bring him along, and the Saints have a really good chance of getting him because, you know, that was Brandon Staley's guy. Like Brandon Staley was, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that drafted him. So he probably would want to bring somebody that he's familiar with, that understands him, and we know that Asante Samuel Jr. understands Brandon Staley. So that might be what the Saints may be looking at. If we end up drafting Shedeur, who knows? Carr might just retire and move back to Fresno. I don't think he's gonna retire. All I know is Quinn Ewers will still be sitting in that third round, and he'll be sitting there in the fourth round too. Sometimes it's good to laugh through the good or the bad. Man, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, bro. That was some bad quarterback throwing drills that I seen at that combine in real life, boy. In real time. I mean, in real life. That was some bad. That was some, man, bro. That was some horrible technique. I mean, a lot of these guys that we know, like, man, they got a lot of work to do. The only person that I've seen all the quarterbacks that were willing to throw. The only person I really seen like that was like hitting, dropping them dimes, was Jackson Dart. Like Cam Ward didn't throw, Shedeur Sanders didn't throw. But, you know, like out of the quarterbacks that were willing to go out there and throw the ball around a little bit, Jackson Dart was the best. Like he threw it on time. He threw it in good spots. His deep ball looked well. Will Howard, I mean, we'll be seeing him at the UFL draft. You know, like the way that he was throwing, in my opinion, you know, like that was some bad throws, man. A lot of these guys got a lot of work to do. So I don't know, man. Like this is a rough draft for the quarterback position. Like a lot of these guys gonna have to develop. I'm not saying that they can't be the NFL caliber quarterbacks, but they're gonna have to go through some growing pains in order for them to get where they need to be. We're going 17-0 and winning a title. Man, you must be talking about Goldberg or something. You must be watching old WCW or something. Because I don't think the Saints going 17-0. I think the Saints can win 7 games, but 17 games, nah. And I'll end with the UFL draft. Oh my God, yeah, man. I feel so bad for Will Howard, though. And for those that don't know who Will Howard is, Will Howard was the quarterback at Ohio State, you know, led them to a national championship. But Will Howard was in Lucas Oil Stadium, and every rep that he took, the crowd booed this man like he was, I don't know, like he was the bad guy wrestler of the 80s or something. Like they booed this man unmercifully inside Lucas Oil Stadium. I guess because, you know, they're in Indiana. Indiana is a Big Ten team. You know, he played for Ohio State, Indiana. You know, had one of their best records they didn't had it. I don't know how long. and they booed that man so bad. And I'm like, it was so crazy because when the combine first starts, they tell you, they're like, attention, ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest job interview of these guys' lives. And we just ask that you be quiet during certain drills and all that kind of stuff. Thank you. Them people did not care. They didn't care that they got in that thing for the free. They did not care. We about to boo this dude. If they asked me to leave and I'm booing Will Howard, then it was worth me showing up. That's how they was booing this dude. But, man, that was some bad throws, man. I don't know if it was the fact that the boos were kind of getting to him. He was kind of overwhelmed by that, or the fact that the boy just needs to work on some of those mechanics. But it wasn't just him, man. I mean, Gabriel, I didn't feel like had a really good, throwing portion of his combine, and a couple more guys, man. But at the end of the day, a lot of these guys have a lot of work to do. And my final thought is very, very simple. I think that the New Orleans Saints are probably going to look into free agency and finding some pieces that may be missing to add some guys. But I think that the key is the NFL draft. Doing your due diligence, understanding what Kellen Moore can work with, what the Saints can bring in to be able to help him to be able to be a successful coach. We know that it's probably going to be some tough times, right? I mean, unless you're about to get this depth thing under control, which I don't feel that you're going to be able to just do this like right away. If they do, then credit to the New Orleans Saints. But I really think, number one, they need to stop, or really need to focus on trying to cut down on restructuring these deals and kicking the can down the road, man. You basically just prolonging the inevitable. It's a matter of just facing these problems head on. It just seemed like the Saints just understand, like, oh, NFL got these TV deals and the salary cap goes up because all this money that the NFL has generated. Yeah, that is true. But, man, you want to make sure that you're getting the best guys on the team and you can keep them on the team when they do well. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Much love to you. And I'll try to be back. If anything of significance happens over the course of this afternoon, I'll try to do another episode. But I did want to talk a little bit about, the Saints restructuring the deals, being back in the black. Comment down below, like and share this video. Previous episodes available right here on YouTube. Be sure to check out Saints Talk with Timothy J. Jones. That is available on Bleacher Report every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat?